Okay, this is, we're going into chapter 4, but I just want to play this one little clip again because it illustrates how intelligent they were when they were doing their conquests. They were asking questions. What do you fear the most? That's a pretty intelligent question to ask. Now listen to this.
And the Celti who lived on the shores of the Adriatic were asked by Alexander what it was they most feared, to which they replied that they feared no one, but only that the sky might collapse. The Chinese refer to the collapse of the sky which took place when the mountains fell. Because mountains fell or were leveled at the same time when the sky was displaced, ancient peoples, not only the Chinese, thought that mountains support the sky. The earth trembled and the heavens dropped, the mountains melted, says the Song of Deborah.
All right, well, we went through this in the last video, but I just wanted you to remember, this is serious. All around the world, they said the heavens collapsed. And some of them, or at least one place, said that people were like crushed to the ground by the sky. It literally crushed them to the ground. They couldn't stand up straight. Crazy stuff.
4. Boiling earth and sea. Two celestial bodies were driven near to each other. The interior of the terrestrial globe pushed toward the exterior. The earth, disturbed in its rotation, developed heat. The land surface became hot. Various sources of many peoples describe the melting of the earth's surface and the boiling of the sea. The earth burst and lava flowed. The Mexican sacred book Popol Vuh, the manuscript Cachiquel, the manuscript Troano, all record how the mountains in every part of the Western Hemisphere simultaneously gushed lava. The volcanoes that opened along the entire chain of the Cordilleras and in other mountain ranges and on flat land vomited fire, vapor, and torrents of lava. These and other Mexican sources relate how, at the closing hours of the age that was brought to an end by the rain of fire, mountains swelled under the pressure of molten masses and new ridges rose. New volcanoes sprang out of the earth and streams of lava flowed out of the cleft earth. Events underlying Greek and Mexican traditions are narrated in the scriptures. The mountains shake with the swelling, the earth melted. Clouds and darkness, fire, the earth saw and trembled. The hills melted like wax. He looked on the earth, and it trembleth. He toucheth the hills, and they smoke. The earth trembled, the mountains melted, even that Sinai. He rebuketh the sea, and maketh it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned, yea, the world and all that dwell therein. The rivers steamed, and even the bottom of the sea boiled here and there. The sea boiled, all the shores of the ocean boiled, all the middle of it boiled, says the Zend Avesta. The star Tistria made the sea boil. The tradition...
I just want to say something. Harvard just agreed that this happened. All right, so like I said, Harvard has agreed that this did happen. The oceans boiled, and Velikovsky did the best research that was ever done, and he was destroyed for doing it because it overthrew everything that they had claimed. But now they're starting to nibble into this because it's true, and sooner or later they're going to have to come up and acknowledge the truth of these things that we just thought were just outrageous, and they are outrageous, but they're true.
The hills melted like wax. He looked on the earth, and it trembleth. He toucheth the hills, and they smoke. The earth trembled, the mountains melted, even that Sinai. He rebuketh the sea, and maketh it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned, yea, the world and all that dwell therein. The rivers steamed, and even the bottom of the sea boiled here and there. The sea boiled, all the shores of the ocean boiled, all the middle of it boiled, says the Zend Avesta. The star Tistria made the sea boil. The traditions of the Indians retain the memory of this boiling of the water in river and sea. The tribes of British Columbia tell, great clouds appeared. Such a great heat came that finally the water boiled. People jumped into the streams and lakes to cool themselves and died. On the North Pacific coast of America, the tribes insist that the ocean boiled. It grew very hot. Many animals jumped into the water to save themselves, but the water began to boil. The Indians of the southern Ute tribe in Colorado record in their legends that the rivers boiled. Jewish tradition, as preserved in the rabbinical sources, declares that the mire at the bottom of the Sea of Passage was heated. The Lord fought against the Egyptians with the pillar of cloud and fire. The mire was heated to the boiling point by the pillar of fire. The rabbinical sources say also that the pillar of fire and of smoke levelled mountains. Hesiod, in his Theogony relating the upheaval caused by a celestial collision, says, "The huge earth groaned. A great part of the huge earth was scorched by the terrible vapour and melted as tin melts when heated by man's art, or as iron, which is hardest of all things, is softened by glowing fire in mountain glens." According to the traditions of the New World, the profile of the land changed in a catastrophe. New valleys were formed, mountain ridges were torn apart, new gulfs were cut out, ancient heights were overturned, and new ones sprang up. The few survivors of the ruined world were enveloped in darkness. The sun in some way did not exist, and in intervals in the light of blazing fires they saw the silhouettes of new mountains. The Mayan sacred book Popol Vuh says that the god rolled mountains and removed mountains, and great and small mountains moved and shaked. Mountains swelled with lava. Coniraya Viracocha, the god of the Incas, raised mountains from the flat land and flattened other mountains. And similarly, when Israel went out of Egypt, the sea saw and fled. The mountains skipped like rams, and the little hills like lambs. Tremble, thou earth, at the presence of the Lord, which removeth the mountains, which overturneth them in his anger, which shaketh the earth out of her place, which commandeth the sun, and it riseth not, which alone spreadeth out the heavens, and treadeth upon the waves of the sea. Mount Sinai. Along the eastern shore of the Red Sea, there stretches a mountainous crest with a number of volcanic craters at present extinguished. Some, however, were active not many centuries ago. One of these volcanoes is usually described as the Mount of the Lawgiving. In the 70s of the last century, a scholar, Charles Beek, suggested that Mount Sinai was a volcano in the Arabian desert. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 11, says, "The mountain burned with fire unto the midst of heaven, with darkness, clouds, and thick darkness." Beek's idea was rejected by his contemporaries and ultimately by himself. Modern scholars, however, agree with his original theory, and for this reason they look for the Mount of the Lawgiving among the volcanoes of Mount Seir and not on the traditional Sinai Peninsula, where there are no volcanoes. Thus, the claims of the rival peaks of the Sinai Peninsula for the honor of being the Mount of the Lawgiving are silenced by new contestants. It is true that it is stated the mountains melted even that Sinai. But this melting of summits does not necessarily mean an opening up of craters. Rocks turned into a flowing mass. The plateau of the Sinai Peninsula is covered with formations of basalt lava. Wide stretches of the Arabian desert also glisten with lava. Lava formations, interspersed with extinguished volcanoes, stretch from the vicinity of Palmyra southward into Arabia as far as Mecca. Only a few thousand years ago, the deserts glowed with the beacons of many volcanoes, mountains melted, and lava flowed over the ground from numerous fissures. The celestial body that the great architect of nature sent close to the earth made contact with it in electrical discharges, retreated, and approached again.
All right, you just hear that? Electrical discharges. That is what Venus is extremely known for in my mind. But they're actually not electrical discharges. It sucks up electric fields. And that's what caused an arc welding effect on the surface of Venus. You see that? In my mind, that is not a discharge from Venus. That's electricity coming into Venus, a raw white electric charge, just like you get from an arc welder. That's exactly what you would get. Exact. Okay, my friends, what is on Mars? Well, this is what's on Mars right there. They call them the Mars blueberries, which are identical to the Moki marbles. And they have this basement layer, which is a basement layer of skin and flesh. And the marbles sit on top, the same as they do in the Moki marbles. Now, what else do they have on Mars? Well, they have Mars sarcomeres. These are muscle sarcomeres. These are connective tissue, and all the red stuff ran out of this. This is on Mars, and didn't take millions of years. That took the time for a creature to die and just sort of, dry out, because up there's no moisture. This is a vein and an artery. That's the artery, and these are little blood vessels going in, and it services muscle sarcomeres right here. These pinch together so that your muscles work together, and that's how they work, and they need a lot of blood, so you have arteries feeding them. Now, these sarcomeres are just like the sarcomeres here on Earth, in certain rocks. And this is a rock here. Right up here, the white at the top is the skin's surface. That basically is skin. This is the muscle sarcomeres in between. And that is the red blood. Like I said, you need a ton of it to make muscles do that sort of stuff. So that's here on Earth, but it's the same as this up here on Mars. The same as this right here. Only the other one, the red stuff is still in there, so you see it nice and red, but you see these white blocks. You see? The white stuff basically is a connective tissue, and this stuff pulls them together. And then they erode right out from here and right down the middle. Now, and this here is a heart muscle right here from a heart attack victim. Same sarcomeres. What else? But this is on Mars, a lot of this stuff. This is on Mars too. And this I'm gonna issue a challenge to my mudfossil friends. We know as mudfossil people that this is interstitium, which goes this way and that way, and is the skin fibers that can pull out and come back. That's why some of them are stretched and some of them are pinched. That's skin. Now this is skin that's not stretched or pinched, it's sort of just laying around here having a good time. This is crunched together, and which stretches this. You see it? Now, what I want you to look at and pay attention to is the balls. The balls are the Moki marbles and are the Mars blueberries. But you see this? You see that? And then you see that, and then you see that, and you say, what's going on there? What's going on here? What's going on here? That is nothing like the interstitium that we know. What would cause that? Look at it stretch way out here. Look at that long one stretched way out there, but it still has some kind of a hooky looking thing going on. What is going on? What are those little lumps? All right, do you have the challenge? You guys ready for this challenge? I want to hear somebody tell me what they think it is. Okay, so we know according to Velikovsky, we were almost hit at least a couple of times, and Mars was literally impacted. Now this is Venus, and don't forget this is the electrical discharge, only it's into Venus. That's not coming out of Venus. That's like an arc welder, and an arc is coming from here going and actually coming down as little arcs. That's exactly identical what would happen with an arc welder. If you got away from the torch and the arc, enough that it wasn't touching and doing the job correctly, you would get this flash all over. That's exactly what happened. Now, this then apparently crashed right into Mars, or damn near it into Mars, and caused this. And again, there's going to be a lot of discharge going that way, but there's going to be a lot of scrape going this way too, I think. That's my interpretation of that. Okay, my friends, we have seen that there was an impact between Venus and Mars and Venus and Earth, and all of the ancient stories we're looking into now. Slowly, this is going to take a very long time to do this. But Velikovsky recorded all these things. Now, let's see if we find anything on Mars that relates to giants and these things that were here on Earth, because apparently they were both working together or against each other, whatever, but they had both had the same characteristics and the same, call it geology, I call it biology. Now let's look at Mars, and then we're going to go back at chapter 4 again after this video is done, and we're just going to continue on through the book, and then we're going to go into ages of chaos, because after this total devastation of the Earth, Mars is just gone, but the Earth came back, but it was ages of chaos. It was nothing but chaos. Nobody, think about what would happen after this event. They didn't even have oxygen hardly to breathe, just barely enough to breathe. They couldn't make fires or anything. So this is an extremely compelling, interesting story. And Velikovsky was the only one that recorded it and researched it, and then they destroyed him for doing that. That's why I want to speak to academia. And as I have shown you, or will, it's all biology up there. These are sarcomeres, muscle sarcomeres from gigantic creatures. We had the same stuff here on Earth. Same stuff. And then you got the Mars Morse code, which I think I talked to you about, these little tiny bumps. You got to try to figure that one out. We got the impacts. We got the Mars blueberries, the same as the Moki marbles. I showed you all this stuff. It's not deniable. It's just not looked at. You can't peer review this and come out with any other decision. And the stuff I have here is DNA tested, CAT scan, all of this, exactly what they would have to ask for. And then to just dismiss it out of hand and say, oh, that must have been that, must have been that, must have been that, just it looks like this. Yeah, it's a pseudomorph, it's a this, it's a that. And plus, I'm not an expert at any of this stuff. You got to go see somebody else. So go see somebody else. See somebody else. That's what it's been continuously. Now, I want to debate somebody from Yale. They owe that to me.